Hashtag YouTube AI/Tech News Intro. Tesla's robotaxis just hit the road. The US is going after Chinese AI, and Google dropped 3 new Gemini models, but here's the twist, no Gemini 3 yet. Today we're breaking down robotaxi expansion, AI sanctions, Google's latest moves, token optimization, Sila's EV battery breakthrough, Anthropic's massive settlement, and Nvidia's data center domination. Stay till the end to find out which story could reshape your tech investments. Tesla spins up robotaxi pilots in Orlando and Tampa ahead of Q2 earnings. Tesla's robotaxi dreams just hit the reality check we've all been waiting for. The company is quietly launching pilot programs in Orlando and Tampa, but here's the thing that should make you raise an eyebrow: they're not telling us how many vehicles are actually on the road. That's a massive departure from Elon Musk's grand promises of a nationwide robotaxi network by now, and it tells us everything we need to know about where autonomous vehicles actually stand in 2026. Let's be honest about what's happening here. For years, Musk painted this picture of Tesla pivoting from a car company to a robotaxi empire, with autonomous vehicles generating massive recurring revenue. But launching in just 2 Florida cities with undisclosed numbers is the definition of cautious. This isn't the aggressive scaling we were promised. It's a measured, almost conservative approach that suggests the technical challenges of full autonomy are far more stubborn than the hype suggested. The company's timing matters too. Dropping this right before earnings calls looks like damage control wrapped in optimism. What this really reveals is a fundamental truth about AI and autonomous systems: the last 10% of the problem takes 90% of the effort. Tesla has incredible sensor data and machine learning capabilities, but getting from mostly works to safe enough for commercial deployment requires solving edge cases, liability questions, and regulatory hurdles that no amount of venture capital can simply bulldoze through. Every other autonomous vehicle company has learned this lesson the hard way. The broader implication here is that the AI revolution we're living through has a speed limit, and it's not the one Musk promised. Real-world deployment of complex AI systems requires patience, regulation, and honest assessment of limitations. That's not exciting to talk about, but it's the actual story of technology in 2026. US threatens sanctions against Chinese AI models over IP theft. The US just escalated its AI Cold War with China in a major way, and this move could fundamentally reshape how artificial intelligence gets developed globally. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent announced that the Trump administration is considering sanctions against Chinese open-source AI models, specifically targeting what they claim is intellectual property theft. This isn't just another trade dispute, it's a direct attack on the accessibility and openness that's defined the AI revolution for the past few years. Here's why this matters technically and strategically. Open-source AI models like those coming from Chinese companies have democratized artificial intelligence, allowing researchers and developers worldwide to build on cutting-edge technology without massive budgets. The US allegation is that Chinese firms trained their models on American intellectual property without permission, essentially standing on the shoulders of American innovation. Whether that's actually happening or just competitive rhetoric is debatable, but the threat of sanctions signals that Washington is willing to weaponize trade policy to maintain AI dominance. This follows years of export controls on chips and other semiconductor restrictions that have already created a tech divide between the US and China. The broader implication here is chilling for the entire AI ecosystem. If the US starts sanctioning foreign AI models over IP concerns, we could see a fragmented global AI landscape where different regions develop incompatible systems. That means slower innovation, higher costs for developing nations trying to build AI capabilities, and potentially a world where American companies control the dominant AI infrastructure. It's a power play wrapped in intellectual property language, and it reveals how geopolitics is now inseparable from technological progress. Google releases 3 new Gemini models, but no 3.5 Pro. Google just dropped 3 new Gemini models, and the one everyone's waiting for still isn't here. On the surface, this looks like a solid release. Gemini 3.6 Flash is faster and more capable, the new flashlight targets efficiency, and Flash Cyber brings specialized security features. But here's what's actually telling: there's still no Gemini 3.5 Pro, and that absence is screaming something important about how Google is approaching its AI strategy right now. Let's talk about what this really means. For months, industry observers have been expecting a pro-tier model to sit at the top of Google's consumer and enterprise lineup. Instead, Google seems to be betting everything on the Flash family models designed to be lean, fast, and practical rather than pushing raw capability boundaries. This is a fundamental shift in philosophy. While competitors are racing to build the biggest, most powerful models possible, Google is essentially saying, maybe that's not actually what people need. The company is optimizing for real-world use cases, latency, and cost efficiency rather than chasing benchmark records. The business implications here are massive. By skipping the Pro tier, Google avoids cannibalizing its own product line and keeps development resources focused on models that can actually run on devices and serve millions of users simultaneously. But it also signals something deeper about the AI market maturing. We're moving past the era where bigger always means better. The real competition now is about integration, reliability, and usefulness in everyday applications. Google's betting that flash models, deployed everywhere from phones to servers, will win more market share than a single powerful model sitting at the top. Whether that gamble pays off will define the next phase of the AI arms race. Google's Gemini 3.6 flash model cuts AI agent token costs by up to 65% on long-horizon engineering tasks, and 3.5 Pro is on the way. Google just dropped a pricing bomb that's about to reshape how companies build AI agents, and honestly, this is the kind of move that separates the winners from everyone else in the AI race. They've released 3 new models, Gemini 3.6 Flash, 3.5 Flashlight, and 3.5 Flash Cyber, with one absolutely wild claim, up to 65% cost reduction on long-horizon engineering tasks. We're talking about slashing token expenses dramatically while maintaining performance. The Flashlight model is priced at just 30 cents per million input tokens, which is almost laughably cheap compared to what competitors are charging. This isn't just about saving a few dollars, this is about making AI agents economically viable at massive scale. Here's why this matters: AI agents are the next frontier. These aren't just chatbots, they're autonomous systems that can plan, reason, and execute complex tasks over extended periods. The problem has always been cost. Every token an agent processes adds up, and on long tasks, those expenses balloon fast. Google's breakthrough in token efficiency means companies can now run sophisticated AI agents without watching their cloud bills explode. The pricing structure shows Google is playing chess while others are playing checkers. Flashlight at under $1 per million tokens creates a new tier of accessibility that fundamentally changes the economics of AI development. The broader implication here is that we're entering an era where AI capability is becoming commoditized. When you can get powerful reasoning models at these price points, the competitive advantage shifts away from raw model quality toward who can best orchestrate these systems and build the most useful applications. This is Google leveraging its infrastructure advantage and scale to lock in market share. For developers and startups, this is genuinely exciting. It democratizes access to enterprise-grade AI. But for other AI companies, this is a wake-up call that competing on price and efficiency is now table stakes, not a differentiator. Bucking EV slowdown, Sila raises $300 million to expand battery materials factory. While the EV market is hitting the brakes, one battery materials company just secured a massive $300 million funding round, and that tells you everything you need to know about where the real money is flowing right now. Sila Nanotechnologies just locked in this capital to scale up production of their silicon-carbon anode material, which is genuinely a big deal because better battery chemistry is the actual bottleneck holding back electric vehicles, not the cars themselves. This funding will let them manufacture enough material to power over 100,000 EVs, which sounds impressive until you realize that's still a tiny fraction of global EV demand. But here's what matters: investors are betting that Sila's technology works and that the EV slowdown we're seeing is temporary. The technical context here is crucial. Traditional lithium-ion batteries use graphite anodes, which have basically hit their efficiency ceiling. Silicon anodes can store significantly more energy, but they're notoriously difficult to manufacture at scale without degrading. Sila's silicon-carbon composite approach solves some of these problems, potentially giving EVs longer range and faster charging. This is the kind of incremental but meaningful improvement that could actually move the needle on EV adoption, because let's be honest, most people aren't avoiding electric cars because they hate them, they're worried about range anxiety and charging infrastructure. What's really interesting is the broader signal this sends about the tech industry's priorities. While everyone's obsessed with AI and software, the unsexy hardware layer is where fundamental constraints actually live. Battery technology directly impacts everything from electric vehicles to grid storage to portable computing, which means materials science is quietly becoming one of the most important tech frontiers. The fact that Sila can raise $300 million during an EV slowdown suggests that sophisticated investors understand this isn't about short-term market cycles, it's about building the infrastructure that will power the next decade of technology. That's the kind of patient capital that actually creates lasting innovation. Anthropic's $1.5 billion book piracy settlement approved by judge. #YouTube commentary script. Anthropic just got hit with a $1.5 billion settlement that could reshape how AI companies train their models, and honestly, this is one of those moments where the tech industry's chickens are finally coming home to roost. A federal judge approved the class action settlement with authors who claimed Anthropic trained its Claude AI on copyrighted books without permission or compensation. Each affected author gets around $3,000 per book, which might sound modest until you realize this is just the beginning of a much larger reckoning. Here's the thing that makes this significant. For years, AI companies have operated in this gray zone where they'd scrape massive amounts of copyrighted content from the internet to train their models, arguing it was fair use or that the benefits to society outweighed the copyright concerns. Anthropic's settlement essentially says that argument doesn't hold up in court anymore. This isn't just about one company paying a fine and moving on. This is a legal precedent that tells every other AI company, OpenAI, Google, Meta, everyone, that authors have legitimate claims to compensation when their work fuels your billion-dollar models. The broader implication here is that the economics of AI development are about to change fundamentally. Training cutting-edge models is already expensive, but now companies need to budget for licensing fees or face massive settlements. We're likely entering an era where AI companies either negotiate licensing deals with publishers and authors upfront, or they face class action lawsuits that could dwarf this $1.5 billion figure. The Wild West days of free-for-all data scraping are officially over, and that's going to affect everything from how fast AI companies can innovate to how much their products ultimately cost consumers. Nvidia wants to own every chip inside AI data centers. Nvidia just made a power move that could reshape the entire AI infrastructure landscape. The company's new Vera Rubin platform combines CPUs and GPUs into a single integrated system, and this isn't just another product release, it's a strategic declaration that Nvidia wants to own every single chip powering AI data centers. This matters because data centers are the beating heart of modern AI, and whoever controls the hardware controls the future of artificial intelligence itself. To understand why this is significant, you need to know how data centers currently work. Traditionally, companies like hyperscalers have pieced together infrastructure from multiple vendors, CPUs from one manufacturer, GPUs from another, networking components from yet another. It's been a fragmented ecosystem, which actually created opportunities for competition and innovation. But Nvidia has been systematically closing that gap. They already dominate the GPU market with their CUDA ecosystem, which is essentially the de facto standard for AI training and inference. Now, by integrating CPUs directly into Vera Rubin, they're eliminating the need for customers to shop around. It's vertical integration at scale. The broader implications are fascinating and frankly concerning for the industry. If Nvidia successfully becomes the one-stop shop for AI infrastructure, they gain enormous leverage over pricing, standards, and the direction of AI development itself. Competitors and customers lose negotiating power. On the flip side, there's an efficiency argument: integrated systems can be optimized in ways that patchwork solutions can't. But history shows us that monopolistic control over critical infrastructure rarely ends well for innovation or competition. We're watching a company that's already incredibly powerful make a calculated bet that they can be even more indispensable. The next few years will determine whether the industry accepts this consolidation or fights back. Thanks for staying updated with Neural Brief. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss tomorrow's biggest AI stories. See you next time.